A single sentence shattered everything I thought I knew about love. Vanessa, the woman I planned to marry, looked me dead in the eyes and said something that set my world on fire. I was sitting across from her in her pristine living room, the kind of place that screamed money with its sleek furniture and spotless floors. Her voice was sharp, like she was giving an order, not asking a favor. She told me to make sure my parents did not come to our wedding. They did not belong with our kind of people, she said. They were just workers. My heart stopped. Workers. The word hit like a slap, spitting on everything my parents, John and Clara, had given me. Their callous hands, their endless sacrifices, their love that held me together through years of nothing. All reduced to dirt in her eyes. I did not yell. I did not fight. My blood boiled, but my face stayed blank. I stared at her, searching for a hint of regret in those cold blue eyes. I found none. Just a smirk, like she expected me to nod and obey. I stood, muttered something about needing air, and walked out. My chest burned with every step, her words looping in my mind. They did not belong. I saw my mom's tired smile, my dad's rough fingers carving wood late at night to make ends meet. They were not just workers. They were my everything. Before I go deeper into this storm of a story, I pause for a second. I want to know where you are listening from, so drop a comment. If this tale hooks you, hit that subscribe button to keep the journey going. Outside her house, my phone buzzed. It was Vanessa. Her name lit up the screen like a warning. I answered, thinking she might apologize. She told me to fix this now, her voice snapping. She said it was our wedding, and we needed it perfect. Perfect. That word again, her obsession with status, with appearances. I hung up without a word, my hands shaking. I was not her puppet anymore. That night I barely slept. My mind churned, replaying every moment I had ignored her snide comments about my parents. The way she had wrinkled her nose at their modest clothes, laughed off my mom's homemade gifts. I had been blind, chasing a love that was not real. But no more. I had a plan. A crazy, reckless, perfect plan. The next morning, I called the wedding planner. A gruff guy named Mike, hired because Vanessa wanted the best. I told him I needed to change the guest list. I said to remove Vanessa and her mother. Mike paused, probably thinking I had lost it. I told him I was sure. I was paying, so I decided. He did not argue. Then I called my parents. Their voices cracked with confusion when I asked them to come to the wedding. They did not ask why, just said yes, like they always did for me. I hung up, my throat tight. This was not just about cutting Vanessa out. It was about giving John and Clara something they had never had. A wedding of their own. A day to shine after years in the shadows. Vanessa's words had lit a fuse, but I was not burning down. I was building something new. Something true. And nothing was going to stop me. Vanessa's words still scorched my soul as I drove away from her house, but they also cracked open something buried deep. My parents were not just faces to be erased from a guest list. They were the heartbeat of every step I had taken. To understand why her demand cut so raw, I had to go back. Way back. To the dirt floors and cracked walls of my childhood. Our home sat on the edge of a forgotten neighborhood, miles from the city's gleam. It was a sagging wooden shack with windows that rattled in the wind and a roof that wept every rain. My dad, John, was a wiry man with hands like sandpaper from years of swinging hammers for pennies. He took any carpentry job that came, piecing together furniture or fixing porches for folks who barely paid on time. My mom, Clara, was smaller, her frame delicate but her spirit iron. She scrubbed floors for rich families, her knees bruised from hours bent over tiles, bringing home scraps of cash to keep us afloat. Dinner was often just bread and watery soup, the kind that left your stomach growling by midnight. I would watch Clara tear her slice in half, slipping it onto my plate when she thought I was not looking. John would wink at me, his eyes tired but warm, and tell me we were rich in ways no bank could count. I believed him then, not because I understood, but because his voice made it feel true. Their love was a fire that never flickered, no matter how cold the nights got. One memory haunted me still. I was 8, shivering under a thin blanket, my throat burning from a fever that would not break. We had no money for a doctor. John did not hesitate. He grabbed his coat, kissed Clara's forehead, and pedaled his rusted bike into the dark, riding miles to a friend who might lend a few bucks. Hours later, he stumbled back, soaked from a storm, clutching a bottle of medicine and a single apple he had scrounged from a market stall. He told me to eat it, his voice hoarse. He said, "It would make me strong." Clara stayed up all night, pressing cool cloths to my head, humming songs she made up to keep me calm. I did not know then how close we had come to losing everything. They never had a wedding. Not because their love was small, but because life was cruel. John would carve tiny wooden rings in the evenings, telling Clara he would get her a real one someday. She would laugh, her eyes sparkling, and say she did not need a dress to know he was hers. But I saw the way she would trace those rings with her fingers when she thought no one watched, a quiet ache for something they could not afford. It was not just poverty stealing their moment. It was the world telling them they did not deserve it. Here was where it got heavier. One winter, I came home from school to find Clara sitting alone in the dark, her face wet with tears. I froze, a kid too small to fix whatever was broken. She did not see me at first, just held a pair of my old sneakers, the soles worn through. I had been hiding the holes, walking on tiptoes to keep my feet dry, but she had found them. She whispered to no one that we could not even give him shoes, her voice cracking like the walls around us. Then she straightened, wiped her eyes, and smiled when she saw me. She told me not to worry, tucking the shoes away. She said I would get where I was going. I did not know what she meant, but that moment seared itself into me. A secret I was not supposed to see. A weight she carried so I would not have to. That night, lying awake, I made a vow. I would give them everything they had given me. A life where they did not have to choose between food and shoes. A day where they could stand tall, not as workers, but as the giants they were. Vanessa's demand was not just an insult to them. It was an insult to that vow. And as I gripped the steering wheel, miles from her perfect world, I knew what I had to do. Their love had built me. Now I would build something for them. Something no one could tear down. Clara's tear-streaked face and those worn-out sneakers stayed with me, a silent promise etched into my bones. I swore I'd lift my parents out of the shadows of poverty. That vow burned brighter than Vanessa's betrayal ever could. It wasn't just about proving her wrong. It was about building something real for John and Clara, something their sacrifices deserved. My journey started in a place no one expected to breed success. A greasy auto repair shop on the edge of town. I was 16, barely old enough to drive, when I walked into Henry's garage. The place smelled of oil and metal, its walls stained with years of hard work. I'd taken the job to help with bills, hauling tools and sweeping floors while John patched furniture and Clara scrubbed tiles. Henry was a gruff man, his face lined like old leather, but he saw something in me. "You've got grit, kid," he said, tossing me a wrench. "Don't waste it." He didn't just teach me how to fix engines. He showed me how to read customers, balance books, and turn a handshake into trust. Every late night spent under a car, every callus on my palms, felt like a step toward that promise I'd made. Henry's lesson stuck. By 19, I was running the shop's front counter, convincing skeptical clients to trust a kid with their cars. When Henry decided to retire, he called me to the back office. His eyes were tired but sharp. "I'm moving south with my sister," he said. "This place is yours if you want it. Cheap. I know you'll make it bigger than I ever did." My heart raced. I had some savings, scraps from years of side jobs, and John and Clara emptied their jar of crumpled bills to help. We scraped together just enough. I signed the papers, my hands shaking, knowing this was my shot. The shop was mine, but it wasn't easy. I worked 18-hour days, fixing cars, haggling with suppliers, and praying the power wouldn't get cut. Slowly it grew. One shop became 2, then 3, a chain known across the county for honest work and fair prices. Money started piling up, hundreds of thousands in the bank, numbers I never dreamed I'd see. I bought John and Clara a house, a sturdy brick place with a real porch and windows that didn't whistle in the wind. I got them new clothes, a fridge that didn't hum like a dying engine, a bed where they could sleep without creaking springs. They didn't change, though. John still carved wooden toys in the evenings, his fingers tracing familiar patterns. Clara still patched old shirts, saying they had life left. "We don't need fancy, son," she'd say, her smile soft. "You're doing fine. That's enough." I wanted to believe her, but deep down, I wondered if I'd ever give them what they truly deserved. A life where they didn't just survive but lived. That doubt gnawed at me, a quiet fear I couldn't shake. Then came a moment that nearly broke me. A big client, some suit from the city, walked into my main shop with a deal to service his company's fleet. It was a contract that could have doubled our size overnight. He leaned across my desk, his voice slick. "Raise your rates for us, kid, and we'll sign." I smelled the trap. Higher rates meant gouging my regulars, the folks who'd trusted me from the start. I saw John's face in my mind, his hands worn from honest work, and Clara's eyes fierce with pride. I stood up, my jaw tight. "No deal," I said. "We keep it fair." He laughed, cold and sharp, and walked out, promising I'd regret it. My stomach sank. Had I just thrown away my parents' future? Days later, word spread about my stand. Regulars came back, bringing friends. The shop buzzed louder than ever. That suit never returned, but we didn't need him. I'd kept my promise to John and Clara in a way I hadn't expected. Not just with money, but with the kind of integrity they'd raised me to hold. Vanessa's world of status and flash was nowhere in sight then. But it was coming. And when it did, it would test everything I'd built. Success had given me a name, a business, a life pulled from the ashes of poverty. But it also brought me to a crossroads I never saw coming. Vanessa walked into my world, and for a while, I thought she was my future. Her shadow loomed larger than the shops I'd built, threatening to unravel everything I held dear. I met her at a rooftop party in the city, far from the oil-stained floors of my garage. She moved like she owned the room, her red dress catching every light, her laugh sharp and magnetic. I was 23, a guy who'd clawed his way up, still rough around the edges. She zeroed in on me, her eyes gleaming with something I mistook for warmth. "You're not like these phonies," she said, her fingers brushing my arm. I felt seen, alive in a way I hadn't before. We talked until the city blurred below, her stories of travel and ambition weaving a spell. I told her about my shops, my parents, my grind. She listened, or so I thought. We started dating, and I fell hard. Vanessa had a way of making me feel bigger than I was, her compliments like fuel to a fire I didn't know I'd lit. I took her to restaurants with menus I could barely read, bought her gifts I'd never have bought myself. I wanted her to feel safe, valued, the way John and Clara had always made me feel. But when I brought her to their house, the cracks began to show. Their new home was modest but warm, with Clara's patched curtains and John's hand-carved shelves. I'd never been prouder to show it off. Vanessa stepped inside, her heels clicking on the hardwood, her smile tight. Clara greeted her with a hug, her hands smelling faintly of lavender soap. "Oh, you're so pretty, dear," Clara said, her voice soft with hope. John stood awkwardly, wiping his palms on his jeans before offering a handshake. "Glad you're here," he said, his grin genuine. Vanessa barely touched his hand, her fingers curling back like she'd grazed something unclean. She scanned the room, her nose twitching. "Smells like a workshop in here," she said, her laugh cutting like glass. Clara tried to bridge the gap, offering a scarf she'd knitted, its blue threads careful and neat. "I made it for you," she said, her eyes bright. Vanessa held it for a second, her lips curling. "Cute," But I don't really do handmade, she said, setting it on the couch like it was nothing. John's face fell. A flicker of hurt he hid behind a cough. I swallowed my anger, telling myself she didn't mean it. I was wrong. Vanessa's disdain grew bolder. She'd roll her eyes when I mentioned my parents, call their house quaint with a smirk. I'd drive her back to the city, my hands tight on the wheel, her voice needling. Why don't they act like they've got money now? She'd say. It's embarrassing. I'd bite my tongue, hoping time would soften her. Hoping I could make her see John and Clara the way I did. Then came the fight that nearly broke us. Vanessa wanted me to sell my parents' house. It's holding you back, she said one night, her voice sharp over wine at her place. Get them an apartment downtown. Somewhere modern. I'd look better next to you without that shack in the picture. My blood ran hot. That house was their sanctuary, every brick laid with my sweat. I stood, my voice low. That's their home, I said. It's not for sale. Not for you. Not for anyone. Her eyes narrowed, and she laughed, cold and bitter. You'll never get it, will you? She said. You're still that kid from the slums. We didn't speak for days, but I went back. Like a fool, I thought love could fix her. Months later, I took her to a restaurant with chandeliers and waiters who moved like ghosts. My palms sweated as I pulled out a ring, its diamond small but hard-earned. I wanted her forever, despite everything. She smiled, her fingers closing around the box. Of course, she said, her voice smooth. The room clapped, but my chest felt heavy, like I'd just signed something I didn't read. I thought that ring meant we'd build something together. I was blind. Vanessa's demand about the wedding, that final stab, was brewing. She didn't just want my parents gone from one day. She wanted them erased from my life. And when she finally said it, every moment of her cruelty rushed back. The scarf. The house. The smirks. I'd been chasing a mirage, and it was time to wake up. Vanessa's ring sat heavy in my pocket for days, a symbol of a future I no longer believed in. Her demand to erase my parents from our wedding wasn't just a line crossed. It was a truth laid bare. She didn't love me. She loved the idea of me, polished and stripped of my roots. I wasn't building a life with her. I was breaking one with John and Clara. The church I'd booked for her dream wedding became my battleground. Not to fight her, but to right a wrong decades old. The day arrived, crisp and bright, the church glowing with lilies and candles Vanessa had chosen. Every detail screamed her taste, from the velvet pews to the organ's hum. I'd paid for it all, but it wasn't hers anymore. I'd called John and Clara days before, my voice steady as I asked them to come. They didn't pry, just agreed, their trust a weight I carried in my chest. I'd also called Mike, the planner, and told him to scratch 2 names from the list. Vanessa and her mother. He'd hesitated, but my tone left no room for debate. This was my day now. Guests filled the seats, friends and neighbors who knew my story, their faces curious but warm. John and Clara arrived early, looking small against the church's grandeur. Clara wore a simple green dress I'd bought her, its hem brushing worn flats. John's shirt was crisp but too big, his hands fidgeting with the carved wooden cross he'd made. They sat near the back, heads bowed like they didn't belong. My throat tightened. They belonged more than anyone. I signaled them to move closer, my eyes fierce with love. They shuffled forward, unsure but trusting, and I felt the fire in me grow. Then it began. A sleek black car pulled up outside, Vanessa stepping out in a white gown that shimmered like a spotlight. Her mother trailed behind, chin high, her dress stiff with pride. They reached the doors, and I heard the commotion before I saw it. Security, men I'd hired with clear instructions, blocked their path. Names not on the list, one said, his voice flat. Vanessa's laugh rang out, sharp and disbelieving. I'm the bride, she snapped. Get out of my way. The guests stirred, whispers rippling through the pews. I stood at the altar, my suit crisp, my heart pounding but calm. Vanessa's voice grew louder, a scream now. This is my wedding. You can't do this. Her mother joined in, hurling insults at the guards, calling them nobodies. I walked to the entrance, every step deliberate. Vanessa saw me, her face red, her eyes wild. Fix this, she hissed, her hands clutching the gown. You're humiliating me. I looked at her, really looked, and saw nothing but a stranger. There's no wedding for us, I said, my voice even. It's over. Her jaw dropped, her body swaying like I'd struck her. Her mother lunged forward, a new storm breaking. She shoved past a guard, her voice shrill. You ungrateful little punk, she spat, pointing at me. You think you're better than us? Your parents are trash. The crowd gasped, and something snapped inside me. My parents are worth more than you'll ever be, I said, my finger jabbing the air. They built me with love. You built nothing but lies. Vanessa crumpled to her knees, the gown pooling like spilled milk, her sobs loud but hollow. Her mother grabbed her arm, still cursing, but the guards held firm. The chaos wasn't done. Vanessa's mother broke free for a second, storming toward the church doors, screaming about lawsuits and revenge. Guests stood, some shouting for her to leave, others shielding John and Clara with their bodies. My heart swelled at their loyalty, but I raised a hand, silencing the roar. Let them go, I said. They're not worth it. The guards escorted them back to the car, Vanessa's cries fading as they drove away. I turned to the altar, the priest watching with quiet eyes. John and Clara stood frozen, their faces pale. I walked to them, my knees hitting the floor. Mom, Dad, I said, my voice breaking. You never got your wedding because life wasn't fair. Today, this is for you. Marry each other. Right here. Right now. Clara's hand flew to her mouth, tears spilling. John gripped my shoulder, his eyes wet but proud. Son, he whispered, his voice thick. The priest nodded, stepping forward. If they're willing, he said, his smile gentle. Clara looked at John, her hand finding his. We're ready, she said, her voice trembling but sure. The ceremony was simple, raw, perfect. John and Clara stood hand in hand, their vows quiet but fierce, promising love they'd already lived for decades. The guests clapped, some crying, their cheers washing over me like a tide. I stood beside them, my heart full, knowing I'd given them what no one else ever had. A moment to shine. Vanessa was gone, her shadow burned away by the light of my parents' love. I was free. Not just from her, but from the part of me that ever doubted what mattered most. The church doors closed behind me, Vanessa's cries fading into silence, but the weight of that day lingered like a bruise. I'd cut her out, given John and Clara the wedding they deserved, and stood taller than I ever had. Yet freedom came with a quiet ache. I'd lost something I'd once chased, and the road ahead felt both open and unknown. My parents' love had carried me this far. Now I had to find my own way to honor it. 3 months passed, and life settled into a rhythm I hadn't known I needed. I threw myself into the shops, my hands steady on wrenches and ledgers. The business grew, a fourth garage opening in a neighboring town, its bays buzzing with new faces who trusted my name. John and Clara bloomed in their own way. They'd walk arm in arm through their backyard, Clara tending a small rose garden, John whittling birdhouses that dotted the fence. Their laughter filled the house, softer now, like they'd finally exhaled after years of holding their breath. You gave us this, Clara said one evening, her hand on mine. I shook my head. You gave me everything first, I said, my voice thick. Vanessa didn't vanish quietly. Her messages came in waves, sharp at first, slicing through my phone's screen. You'll regret this. You're nothing without me. I deleted them, each one a reminder of her poison. Then her tone shifted, softer, pleading. I was wrong. I see it now. Please talk to me. I read those late at night, my finger hovering over the reply button, but I never pressed it. Her words felt like echoes, empty against the truth I'd claimed. I blocked her number, my chest lighter with each passing day. Then I met Sarah. It happened on a slow afternoon at the main shop, oil smudges on my sleeves, invoices stacked high. She was the new bookkeeper, her desk tucked in a corner, her brown hair pulled back in a loose braid. I'd seen her before, always focused, her pencil tapping as she balanced numbers. That day, I asked her about a missing receipt, and her laugh caught me off guard, warm and unguarded. We talked longer than we meant to, swapping stories about late nights and stubborn clients. Her eyes crinkled when she smiled, and I found myself wanting to see it again. Sarah was different. No flash, no pretense. I invited her to dinner at my parents' house, nervous in a way I hadn't been since I was a kid. Clara greeted her with a plate of cornbread, still warm from the oven. John showed her a wooden puzzle he'd carved, his grin shy but proud. Sarah didn't flinch at their simplicity. She ate seconds, asked John about his craft, and helped Clara wash dishes, their chatter filling the kitchen. "This is nice," she said later, her hand brushing mine as we sat on the porch. I believed her. But Vanessa wasn't done haunting me. One morning she appeared at the shop, her face thinner, her usual polish gone. I froze, my wrench slipping in my hand. "I need to talk," she said, her voice low, almost broken. Customers milled nearby, their eyes curious. Sarah was there, checking inventory, her presence steady at my side. I stepped forward, my jaw tight. "There's nothing to say," I said. "You made your choices." Vanessa's eyes darted to Sarah, then back to me. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears welling. "For everything." I saw pain in her, real or not, but it didn't move me. Sarah touched my arm, her warmth grounding me. "Go," I said to Vanessa, my voice firm. "Live your life." She lingered a moment, then left, her footsteps fading into the hum of the garage. That night, I sat with John and Clara, their hands clasped over coffee. I'd buried Vanessa's shadow for good. Sarah's laugh, Clara's roses, John's birdhouses, they were my world now. I'd found something Vanessa could never touch. A life built on truth, not appearances. And it was only the beginning. Sarah's hand in mine felt like a promise kept, a quiet answer to the chaos Vanessa left behind. 2 years after that church day, my world had grown roots deeper than I dared hope. John and Clara's wedding had set something right, not just for them but for me. Now, standing in a new chapter, I saw what it all meant. Family wasn't built on flash. It was carved from sacrifice and truth. Sarah and I married in a backyard ceremony, simple and warm, with string lights swaying in the breeze. Clara baked pies, her apron dusted with flour, while John crafted a wooden arch etched with vines. Sarah's smile, soft in her plain white dress, held me steadier than any vow. We moved to a house outside town, a place with a wide lawn where John built a swing for our daughter, Mia. She came into our lives like a spark, her tiny hands grabbing at Clara's knitted blankets, her giggles filling every corner. Clara sang her lullabies, old tunes from her own childhood, and John carved her a toy horse, its edges smooth as his love. Their joy was my compass, guiding me through days that felt too full to hold. The shops thrived, 3 now, each a testament to honest work. I hired locals, kids like I'd been, giving them tools and trust. Sarah ran the books, her sharp mind keeping us steady, but we always left time for Mia's bedtime stories or dinners with my parents. Clara's rose garden bloomed brighter, John's birdhouses lined our porch, and I felt a peace I'd never known. Vanessa's ghost returned one last time. I was locking up the main shop when a letter slid under the door, her handwriting jagged on the envelope. I opened it, my pulse quick. She wrote of regret, her life unraveling after a failed marriage, her pride crumbled. "I hurt you and your family," she said. "I see it now. I don't expect forgiveness." I stood there, the paper heavy, feeling no anger, only distance. I burned the letter in our fireplace that night, Sarah's arm around me, Mia asleep upstairs. Vanessa's choices were hers. Mine were here, with the people who mattered. Looking back, I saw the lesson clear. John and Clara taught me that love endures when it's real, no matter what the world throws. Vanessa's path, lonely and hollow, showed what happens when you chase shadows. I'd chosen truth over illusion, and it gave me Mia's laugh, Sarah's warmth, my parents' pride. That was wealth no bank could measure. The journey today has come to an end. Did this ending feel right to you, or did it surprise you? Share your thoughts below. If you loved this story, drop a like and subscribe to catch the next tale. Thanks for staying with me, and I'll see you soon.